Right, so this week we have Con McGarry from County Roscommon in the south of Ireland. Before we're going any further, is there anything you're into, Con, outside of sheepdogs, or what way do you work?
Oh, well, I'd be into farming, like suckling cows and sheep mainly. And I used to be into horses one time and different sports, but getting a bit too old for that now.
Yes, yes. And what sort of sheep do you work with? Or
Uh, Mainly Suffolk Cross, Suffolk Texel Cross, maybe a bit of Milford in them nowadays too.
for the old
You know,
lamb
that
job?
type of sheep, like heavy sheep. I only lamb a small amount of sheep now. I don't lamb as much as I used to. I keep a good few hoggets, like, but
Yeah, no bar. And what about cattle? What sort of cattle is it you're working with? Or
usually Limousin Angus cross cows with a Charolais bull on.
the nice quiet cows?
Continental cross.
Angus and nice.
Yeah, yeah, you get a bit of a frame to them, you know.
Not no bar. If anybody hears like banging and stuff going off there, it's Halloween night, so there is there's fireworks outside. So that's what that
You
is.
never know.
Well, it's up in the north. It could be anything going off up here. So it is. They, right. What age did you start at trials, Colin? And who helped you get into it?
What age was I when I started?
Yeah.
I'd be in my early 30s. Uh, I just happened on it accidentally at an agricultural show. I just happened on a dog trial, and I I just said I'd have a go at it. I had a good working dog at home for to do my work, like, but it wouldn't be a trialy type of dog.
Yeah.
But I said I could have a go at that.
Did you start trialing
I
with
was
him,
told
or did you start with something different then, or what way?
no. I ordered a few pups off different men that was running at that trial
Hmm.
that day, and um, one happened to be a good one. Uh, um, well, I got this one when I went to pick up a smaller pup, and the guy had the one about 6 months old that was already working.
Yeah.
So I bought that one as well. And it was a decent dog. It got me started.
The sounds of things, you nearly had more dogs than you had frigging sheep at that point. You're buying pups here and there and everywhere. The
Well, yeah. So some could have a dog to work the sheep, and others would have sheep for the dogs.
Aye, there's a few boys I know actually like that. Only for the dogs. I can't see them ever having sheep. They're not. I don't think they particularly like sheep. It's just that's for the dogs. But how long
Well,
did it take you then? Huh?
is there actually somebody out there that does like sheep?
Aye, well, that's the thing. They can test you. A man said to me one time, if you were lambing twice a year, you wouldn't keep sheep at all. They you forget about it
Absolutely.
by the time tipping time comes around. But did you start off with much success then at the start, or did it take 4 or 5 years, or how did you get on?
Uh, well, I don't know was it a bad thing or a good thing, but the very first trial I went to was a nursery trial with that dog, and I won it.
Jeez, right, right.
So I don't know was that a bad thing or a good thing, because it has sort of enticed me to keep going anyway. But
Aye,
no, I had a fair bit of success relatively quick.
not in the bar. And who was there? Somebody sort of like a mentor for you, or were you just sort of picking up yourself, or what way?
At that time now, you'd mainly have to pick it up yourself by watching other people when you get to the trial.
Yep.
It was a little bit different to now. There wasn't so many people out there running clinics for people, or showing them what they should do or what they shouldn't do, or helping them along. Kind of, it was more you went to the trials, and if you were smart enough, you stood at the fence or whatever it was, and you watched the guys who were good and had a reputation very carefully,
Yeah, yeah,
and you picked up a lot from them,
yeah. Not bad.
and by listening, of course, as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it would surprise you what you could hear if you're listening to trials. So it would. They,
Yes, yes, it's very, very, very important to listen, and it's very important for people starting off to be there early and see what's going on and watch the good handlers and be there late as well.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I've seen a lot of young people coming in over the last years, and they nearly just come to run their dog.
Aye, and then head off again.
Yeah,
Aye, and that's the thing too. Like
and
you're saying there about watching good handlers and stuff. Like, uh, there's not really there's not really too many places in Ireland now you would go to where you don't have a group of good handlers about. Like, down that west where you're at, like there's an abundance of good handlers down there. You have County Down, abundance of good handlers, and same with Donegal. So like, if you're starting off, it's not to say you're going to trials where there's maybe a a lighter sort of standard. Like there's a brave standard everywhere you go, really, isn't there now in Ireland? Like really.
serious amount of good handlers in Ireland now. Serious amount. I mean, the chances of you getting anything soft now, it'd be very, very, very occasionally. Like, would you see poor performances at trials here now? The standard is very high. Your dog has to be a very high standard, and you have to be a high standard yourself. Like most of the open trials, all of the dogs would be placed in over 96 points out of 100.
Aye.
All
Yeah.
of the place dogs, like, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's that's high.
Aye, how it is. I remember years ago going to trials. Just maybe about 20 years ago now, anyway. And I'd have been going with Jared Graham. And at that time, like, if you run at a trial and you missed the gate, you could probably still get yourself in the placings. If you miss a gate now, like, realistically, all you're doing is just wasting time. Like, you're really, unless it's a bigger trial, you might script in, but at these normal trials, like, you miss a gate now, it's game over. Like,
Game over. Uh, your dog has to outrun and lift clean to leave you in with any chance
yeah, yeah.
at
No,
most of the trials now here in Ireland. If you don't have a clean outrun and lift, uh, you're on the back foot straight away. Like,
aye, yeah, yeah. No, well, tell me this then. How many times have you been in the team?
I don't know, but I'd ever think it'd be well over 20 anyway.
That's a good enough sign anyway when you don't know.
Well, I don't, to be honest, I don't know
No,
exactly.
that's a
So,
good sign. That's a good
but
sign. How many times have you won it? Do you know? Or,
the national,
you've won the national, haven't you,
many
before?
times yeah, I've only won it once.
That was that
I
Dan or
thought
Nell
I,
or something?
I, I thought I should have won it a few times, but I only won it once anyway.
I
Yeah,
on paper
I,
once.
I won the doubles. I won the doubles a few times.
Yes, yes. And what about the Supreme then? Have you been in it?
Oh, I've been in it. I've been in it a few times as well. A different story in it now. I could never say. I could never say that I should have won it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never had a run good enough to win. I never
yeah.
had a run good enough to win it, or to be even looking like winning it. I suppose. For on a couple of occasions in Stranraer, I was very good to the shedding ring and couldn't get out of the shedding ring. And in Stoneleigh, I missed all the sheep in the cross drive gate. Thought I was going straight across for it and went down the bottom side of it, 30 yards, I'd say, looking
Yeah.
back at it, and then had a clean finish after that. So if I could have
You've been
switched
well.
one half to the other half, if I could have switched one half to the other half, I'd have done great. Like,
Yes, yes.
but I've had a few, but never. I would never close that I could say I was close to winning it. I wasn't.
And what dog did you win the national with?
Dan, dog
Dan.
called Dan, homebred dog of Connie and Bin, or Connie and Clifton Taft, maybe.
Yes, yes. And with regards to the Supreme, then what dogs were you in the Supreme with?
Clifton Taff, Megan a couple of times, Dan, I think. No, I'm not sure, but
Aye.
I was, I
That,
was never,
that
I was
Megan
never,
was a very good bitch,
I
wasn't
was,
she?
I was. She was, yeah, but I lost her at 6-year-old with cancer.
Aye, I
She
remember.
was in the team twice, and she was in the team twice, and she was in the Supreme twice.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I remember hearing at the time that you'd lost her young, but she was a serious wee dog at that time, like serious wee dog. So she was.
Well, she was easy on sheep,
Yeah, yeah,
and she was a good listener, and she was easy on sheep,
aye, no,
and that means an awful lot.
aye, no, because whenever I first
And
been starting,
I said,
pardon,
yes, go on.
I know whenever I first been starting to go to trials, I think did you win? Was 2005? Was that the national you won? Was it or
4,
four? Because I started going, I think at
2004.
2005 or six or something like that. But I remember at that time, like you would have seen obviously the magazines and stuff like, but uh, whenever I was only starting out, like because I had seen that you had won the national at that time, like I remember you come up to run. It must have been a north v south or something in the north, or whatever. But I remember seeing you because you're used to seeing all your own trialists in the north.
Yeah,
You sort of take it for granted seeing them all the time. And I remember thinking that, oh, there's that boy from the south. Like you never see it, and that was with I think you Dan and Nell. I
yeah.
think possibly it was the two
Yeah, yeah,
you're on that
yeah,
time. Like,
yeah,
but
yeah,
she'd have been
yeah.
a hairy wee dog, a smaller dog, wouldn't she?
Nell was
Ah,
hairy.
a hairy wee dog.
Nell was
No,
hairy. Dan was bare.
yes, no bother. And tell me this then. What do you think's your biggest achievement at trials? What's been the proudest moment you've had up to this point?
Sure, I suppose you would. I would have to say winning the national, but I don't know. Like I've been in a few of the world trials. I was
Mm-hmm.
in the first one with 2 dogs, and I was in the finals of that. And I don't know. Like you'd, every day is a big achievement to me now that I get out. I enjoy the trials. I find that. It's harder to get in the team these days, but it's still well worth working for.
So, the internet cut out there, so we're just restarting here or joining up again where we finished. Uh, you were saying there about the trials. It's harder to get in the team now. Is there's less young people coming in the trial, and they seem to a lot of ones seem to say there's less young ones coming in. Would you say there's maybe less people trialing now, but the standards went higher, or what way? What do you think?
There's a lot more people trailing now.
Oh, there's
A
more
lot
now.
more people trailing now a lot more than when I started.
Right, right, right.
I mean, I remember when I started going to trials and going down the south of Ireland, down
Uh,
we'll say Wexford and across that the southeast. And all across there, you could run you could run 3 classes in the one day. They used to run a novice trial first in the morning, and then they'd run an intermediate trial, and then they'd run the open trial starting about 2 o'clock in the day, and and run all the dogs. And I see here now, if you in a lot of the year up here, if you run an open trial and don't confine the dogs, you could have over 80 open dogs like running.
yeah. I
You know,
suppose I
so there's more
suppose
people.
there's a lot of handlers. I suppose my sort of age upwards, like 30 and 40. There's a lot of that. There's maybe I don't know what's like down your way, but there's maybe not that many. You know, maybe ones say that sort of 20. That sort of age group. Like, but there's a hell of a lot. I suppose that sort of 30, 40, and that's a fair bulking up the
Yeah,
numbers.
well,
Like,
that Yeah, well, that's where they come from. You see, you tend to lose out a little bit. You have them. I notice now, young handlers and that you'll have them like from, we'll say, 12 and up to about 18 or 19
Aye,
or 20, and then like the boyfriends and the girlfriends kick in,
aye,
and the nightlife kicks in, and you lose them to that then for a while,
yes, yes,
until things change, until they settle down or go into a different, and then you get them back again, maybe in their late 20s. Apart from the odd fanatic like this, dedicated,
yeah.
that's seriously dedicated altogether,
I
and
suppose
that
maybe
kind
whenever
of just
when they're getting to that sort of late 20s, early 30s, they're maybe looking an excuse to get away from the boyfriend or the girlfriend. So it's an excuse to run to the
well,
dogs
that can
then.
be it too. That can be it too. Like they don't want listening to the kids either. Like in not a lot of
Aye,
cases.
get out of the door. They
Yes, yes, I'll be
so
back later. Not saying how
what
much later. Yeah.
what would you say then is out of all the dogs you've had, what would you say is your best dog?
Well, the best dog that ever I've had for consistency, for getting on the team and all that kind of thing, was a bitch called Jip, way back in the day. Uh, she was, she was first in the Irish team. I think at about a year and 10 months. She was in the doubles and the singles in the Irish
Mhm.
team at that age, and she was in her whole time of running. She was only out of the team once,
Right.
and most of the time she was in it. Well, most of the time she was in it in the doubles and singles.
Hmm. Hmm. And was she
So
bought or homebred or
she was homebred. Yeah, she was homebred from Bin and Nell, I think, here at home. Yeah, she was a tough cookie. Now people often mentions her to me, and I say, well, yeah, she was good, but she wouldn't be any good to me now because I wouldn't be able to follow her.
ah,
Like she needed a lot of work and she needed a lot of schooling, and even she wasn't a super bitch for the international leader because
ah,
she'd be great if you could get her in the Supreme,
yeah, yeah.
but but to get her in was the problem.
Aye, too much of
She'd
an
be
engine on
hot.
her for the qualifiers.
Yeah, too
Aye,
much. Yeah, too much of it. Too much of an engine. Yeah, when she'd get a few days off, uh, her monkey would be up and she'd push on.
aye. Funny,
But she was tremendous.
I'd say that. I know. Funny, James McCluskey had said the same thing to me about that Jimmy dog of his. He says if you could just take him to the Supreme, you'd want to get a run with him there, but it's getting him to that. He's loaded that dog. Like he's always on his work. So I've heard boys saying that
Well,
before.
that's the
It's hard to qualify them, but
yeah,
if you had them qualified, they'll be the right dog for it.
yeah. I heard. Yes, that would be much of the same case now. I heard the late John Brennan describe them dogs very well one time. He was talking to a mate of mine, and they were talking about another guy's dog.
Uh-huh.
And he said, what dogs has he? Well, he said he has a very good dog now. He said, coming, but he said he's not just ready yet. He said he's keen. He said it'll take another year before he's ready. And
Yes,
John
yes.
Brennan said, yeah, it's always another year with them type, he said.
Aye, aye, aye,
Yeah, you'll be
aye,
always waiting for them to settle next year, but it seldom happens.
aye, aye. No, they. But I heard him saying that time about Tom Lawrence and he had that spot dog, and I think he maybe didn't do a wild pile that dog until he was maybe coming 5 or 6, and then he was starting to
Yeah,
settle out.
train.
I remember hearing that about him, whether it's
Mm.
right or wrong, but that's the story I was told. So it was.
Oh, I know, yeah,
What
yeah.
what would be your
Well,
favourite open course then? Your favourite international course?
Guild Hall was a super international course,
Hmm.
and of course, Big R last year or this year, sorry,
Yeah,
was tremendous. I mean, there's half of Scotland there on the side of a hill. It is
yeah.
absolutely like an outrageous course.
Uh,
You know, that was very good. And Aberystwyth's a great course as well as Flat, but it's a great course.
No, they for Guildhall, like to be honest, uh, in Ireland, it's quite a rarity to get somewhere like Guildhall. Like it's not easy to find it. A lot of
Can't
smaller
find them.
fields. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
can't find them because because the farms, those estates were all divided up into smaller farms, and there was hedgerows put in and all kinds of stuff put in, and they can't be taken out. You know.
all right. If you had a digger, you could make a decent course, but that's just the problem with it. The what
Good
about
if you weren't looking for the grants. But
aye for it? What about Thurles that time up at the race course? I've never seen it, but was it a big course or is it just a normal size sort of?
oh, it was a good course. Oh, it was a good course, Thurles.
Aye,
Maybe the sheep were put back a little on the regather, back
yeah.
a little bit far out of sight, but it was a good course. Definitely a
Would
good
that be as
course.
big as any?
And
Would that be as
it,
big
and
as
it,
all
and
internationals?
and it was Ireland's first course, like as well.
Uh-huh.
It was Ireland's first international
Yes, yes.
Thurles.
And would
No,
that
it was
be
a
would it be as
tremendous
big?
course, and a tremendous international, like and Frank won that one, like, and
Yeah.
that was our first supreme, like,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
The
But it was
and do
big.
you?
Oh, Thurles was big.
I would stand as big as any of the Welsh or the English or the Scottish ones. Then it was a fair size, like yeah.
Oh, it was a good sized Thurles.
Aye,
Absolutely,
aye.
yeah. Yeah.
No. Say it was before my time, so I never seen it, but just seen those videos on YouTube.
Oh,
But it's
yeah, it
very
was
hard
good.
to tell.
Yeah,
Um,
it was good, yeah. Good.
with regards then to open courses, what trial do you look forward to throughout the year for the opens?
The mall. I don't,
Oh,
I don't like, I don't like missing open trials. If they're within any sort of a distance at all, they're they're tremendous. Like Michael Hopkins over in Castlebar on the mountain runs a hill trial,
yeah, yeah.
and that's always a challenge, and it's always very good every year. Like
Mhm.
it's a great spectacle, like, and it's great to watch, and there's a great course as well where next year's national is down in Barrow O'Brien's in Lisbrock,
Ah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a great course. Now it's it's not a hill course, but it's a great course,
Aye. And you could run
great
that two or
national
three different
course.
ways, of course.
Well, you could run a national three ways in it
Aye,
if you wanted to,
aye, aye. No,
three different positions.
aye. No, I've been
Yeah,
down to it a few times, so I have. I've been down to it a few
oh,
times.
you've been there, yeah.
I remember we had there was a trial up and there was a trial in County Down one day, I think, and there was a trial. No, that's what it was. There was a trial in County Down, and then there was maybe the four province or something like that, or maybe there was some bloody thing, but it was cancelled. But I remember thinking, right, the West of the team, and you were on it, and there was a few others, and I thought, right, if I'm trying to get points here, it makes sense to go down here. But whatever it was, it must have been cancelled or something. I remember landing down, and there was one person that was supposed to be away from the West. Next thing, another person landed, and then you landed, and I thought, Jesus, I've been down this whole way to try and see if we could get points or whatever, and they're all there. So they're as well going to Down or Donegal or whatever it would have been. They
And
do it, but
and
I'm
and,
not.
and how many points did you get?
Well, I haven't got any points yet down there, but hopefully next year that'll be the one that matters. So, but I
Yeah,
know it's a hell of a good course. It's a long old drive for me, obviously, but it's a good old course down there. Like, and but what would you say then would be what sort of dog is it you liked? Are you liking? You were saying about that bitch you had that was quite pushy, or would you prefer something then maybe a wee bit more chilled out, or what's your dog you like?
well, I prefer them more chilled out at the moment now. Anyway, I used to like them type a lot that would push like hell, but you have to dance with the girls in the hall. And if you're running that type of dog now,
Aye,
you'll be running all right, but that's all you'll be doing. The dogs have
aye.
to be a bit more refined now and a bit more careful and easier to control.
Yeah, yeah. They
They're
and
more sheep things.
aye, and years ago, like would they be running a lot more of them sort of rough and ready dogs, or what way? Or is maybe just the handling's changed now that you have to have them completely drilled?
Well, there wouldn't have been rough and ready like there'd have been an awful lot of good dogs out there like when I
Aye,
was running. But the sheep would be different. The sheep would be more worked with dogs and with people,
mm-hmm.
and they would take pushing more. The sheep nowadays, you'll find a lot of them have got very little dogging,
Aye,
and you just have to keep away from them and work them with gentle and be rather in the right place all the time. And your dog has to be able to pace them and be a good listener to. If they get any bump at all or they don't forgive you.
aye,
Like
yeah, yeah,
one time you could give sheep a cut somewhere at a hurdle or something, and by the time you get back to yourself, that have settled down. But not anymore. If you upset them
no,
now, you're finished.
game was over. No, well, funny enough, that's the thing I liked about Barras. He'd work with a lot of them sort of Taxley and Suffolk cross sort of sheep, wouldn't they have been like? And uh, up here, you go maybe to Donegal and you could get like Neos or something like that, or you go down to say the McCullochs and you're working with Lanarks. I'm used to working with them sort of like lowland, so when you get on to like Barras, they're easier to read. If you're trying to work with a black eye, like you could be thinking you're going one direction, and the flick of a finger, they could be anybody where. That's the
Well,
difficulty
yes,
with them.
the Mio, yeah, on Hopkins's Hill now, there'll be Mios and there'll be a few good days trials over in Ackle there. The O'Malley's
Uh-huh.
run on a few big horses over there, and they'll be Mio Hornies now, and they work well. Like
Funny,
I think
I've been
you
down
were
to
over
theirs
there
actually.
one year.
Aye, down in
Yeah,
Ackle, yeah. The big
yeah.
horses like and aye, like well, coming up to it hasn't done me any favours yet, but in my own head, coming up towards maybe say 6 weeks before the national, I tend to then just go to big horses. My thinking is it gets the dog
Yeah.
thinking big, but it obviously hasn't worked yet. But there's a theory there on what I'm doing. Like, but I know that Ackles it was a few days of trial down there. Like, I enjoyed it.
Oh
The
yeah, great courses.
well, tell me this then: if you're judging a trial, what do you hit hard? Is there anything is there anything that you're judging that you'd like to see done and done right? I know you like everything, but is there one thing you really focus? Like this has to be right.
Well, not particularly. No, it would all have to be right. As
Aye,
right as the handler could get it anyway. Uh,
aye,
the shedding, the shedding is a bit of a always a bit of a topic now because
yeah,
the dog. In a lot of cases now, it seems if the dog runs through the sheep, he has them shed in one
aye,
side and out
yeah,
the other. The handler will put them together and hit off to the pin, like,
yeah.
and that's not good. Shedding doesn't seem to be as important as it used to be in a lot of places. I've even said, you see people shedding outside the ring, like, and getting and continuing on.
Yeah. No.
Shouldn't be
Well,
allowed, like.
yeah. No, I see a lot of ones mentioned shedding. Now, I'll tell you something I've noticed more recently is judges maybe the outrun. A lot of people are going just the safe option, real wide off your feet, hit the fence behind the sheep. But I hear more and more people talking about it now. Like by right, it should be that pear shape. A lot of them dogs are just hitting the fence, and if you were to go to the side of a hill, where would they end up like? So I noticed now a few trials I've been to that people have went really wide. For example, used to be you maybe lost a couple of points, but they seem to be really. A few of the trials I've noticed anyway, they seem to be really slaughtering them now if they're just hitting the ditch.
Well, yeah, that's fine. Like, provided the dude with everybody.
Ah, yeah. No, consistency. Consistency
That's the
is the
big one.
key.
That's
Aye,
the big one. If they do it
aye,
with everybody, it's okay. You know.
aye, aye. That's a big if. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
no, and tell me this then, if you obviously run at nationals and internationals and all that, is there anything you reckon needs changed in trials, or are you quite happy the way they're running, or is there a certain thing you think could improve the trials if it was changed?
I don't think so. I think the internationals and the nationals run very well. I have funny feelings about the nationals at times, like it, that uh, people people seem to lose the run of themselves at nationals. You see very funny things happening, and you wonder why it happened at a national and it didn't happen the last day in some other field. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same people were do a very good job, and what's the reason for it, like, or why it happens, and you'll see a little bit the
aye,
same at the international, like, but maybe not as bad.
aye,
But
aye.
that's there's just doesn't seem to be any answer for it. You know.
Aye. No, no bar. And with your dogs, then, do you breed your own, or do you just buy, or you do a bit of both? Is there, some people sort of just stick with their own lines, maybe, or
Well,
are you happy enough there?
well, I used to back in the day when I was a younger man and have a lot of dogs. I used to breed all my own.
Uh-huh.
And they were all my own dogs I'd be running. But now I'm quite happy to buy a dog if I like it and run it. I don't care whether it's me own or not.
Aye.
The two dogs I've been running over the last few years are not mine. One
Yes.
is off Kevin Evans's old spot dog, and the other one was
Uh-huh.
off Paddy Fanning's Bruce dog. And
Yeah.
they've been my best dogs for the last few years. Although I have a very good young dog now that I've bred myself. I think he's very
Yes.
good at. He's making all the shapes have been very good.
Aye.
He's
He's nurseries over there, is he out of them?
he's nurseries, but he's after picking up a good few open points in a couple of trials that he ran in now.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's still
No, no
nursery.
bar, no bar. It's funny you said that you buy something in there. You always hear people saying, if you're buying a dog in, there'll be a fault somewhere. But I never really understand that, because if you have one from a pup, there's going to be a fault there as well. Like, there's no, there's all but there's a fault.
Yeah, there's always faults. Of course, there'd be a fault, but
So it's what you can
uh,
cover up.
you have to you have to you have to work with what you've got. Um, if there's a fault at the top of the field, if it's cutting its outrun or something and it's not young enough to change, then you could have a problem. But if the fault is close to you, you should be able to do a bit with it,
Work with
or
it.
adjust or
I am
something.
pretty driver. No, no bar. And how many would you go through in a year, say? If you had young pups, do you just stick with a small number, or would you go through quite a few, or?
Nowadays, I have very few pups. I used to have a lot of pups. I used to have 5 or 6 or 7 litters a year, but
Mm-hmm.
not anymore. I might have one or two now, and that's it. Too much
I see.
work and
Maybe
too
what?
much.
You maybe keep 5 or 6 young ones a year then to come up, to take through then, yeah, or?
Too many now, and I'm going to stop doing that as well now. If I have a litter of pups now anymore, I'll only keep one, because
Ah,
when you get old and you get lazy, you'll bring out the best one, and the others will get no chance.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, they,
You're trying to run your older dogs, the dogs that you're running in trials, and you're trying to run them, and by the time you get bringing out the young ones, you're knackered, and you bring out the best one, and you say, I'll bring the other one tomorrow, but tomorrow never
ah,
comes.
never comes. No,
Yeah.
but well, tell me this. There's a young fella. Well, he's not young; he's my age, like, but he started recently up, and he had messaged me to see what would be they wanted me to ask handlers what's the best advice for newcomers. Is there any advice you would give to newcomers, with regards to starting trialing?
Stick at it and listen and learn. but they have to stick at it, and there's no shortcuts, and there's no quick fixes. You have to put in the time. It's all about time. Everybody, all the young people I know, or beginners I know, are looking for a big field to train. You don't need a big field to train. You only need a little field to train. Small area where
Yeah,
you can keep control. Because once once that dog gets out in a big area and they start losing control, then the dog is away and they won't get it back.
he knows he's away. uh, nope, too well. Right. This is what question I'm looking forward to here for you, to be honest, because you've been at it a few years. What three handlers, sort of back in the days, let's just say before the 2000s, what three handlers would have been standing out to you? You know, if you were going to, say, even at home or international, you know, what three handlers would have stood out to you?
Well, at home anyway, the three that stood out was Tim Flood, Eugene Feeney, and Pat Byrne Jr. in Kildare.
Mm-hmm.
They were.
And Pat Byrne Jr.,
Paddy.
is that anything?
What?
Pardon?
Go on.
Is that Keelan's fella?
Keelan's dad.
Ah, right, yes. Aye, no problem. And then what about outside of Ireland then at that time? Would you be on a cross international, and was there handlers that would have stood out? Or?
Sure, over there they were in a penny. Like, I mean, where would you start? Like, Aladone, John Templeton, Johnny Wilson. You know, you name it. Like, you could go on forever. Alistair McRae, of course, that left Scotland and went to America. He was a tremendous handler. I mean,
Yep.
absolutely tremendous. Like, in nowadays in the Kevin Evans style.
Aye.
And that's saying something, because he's not a handler at all. He's a genius.
Aye. Yeah. No. They and with regards to dogs, then, was there dogs back in them days? What sort of three dogs maybe would have stood out to you back in them days as being the real McCoy? Like?
Templeton's Roy, I thought, was a tremendous dog back that time. I thought he was an exceptional dog. John Thomas's Don. You're certain.
He's English. Was that English?
You're certain.
Was it? Yeah.
Eh?
He's English, John Thomas, was he?
He was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you surprised at that? Do you think that they'd have no dog at all?
That's your word, not mine. They, I don't know. I just, he's way before my time. He must have been in the 70s and 80s, was he? Or?
Huh? Yeah. He'd be in the 80s, yeah.
Aye.
He'd be in the 80s.
No, I was trying to remember. I think I seen a video of him on YouTube. I think running one of the internationals, but that was away. It must have been late 80s or something like that.
He was a great dog. Aladone's All Roy was a great dog too.
So
ground now, yeah.
So something's happened again. So we'll just crop these all together. But right, present day then. What sort of three handlers and what sort of three dogs? I suppose maybe three different parents, I suppose. But we'll start with handlers first. Nowadays, like when you're, say from 2000 onwards, what three handlers would be what you would like to, if you're going international or even in Ireland, who would stand out, do you think, that you personally like to see?
Well, I mean, if you're going in Ireland, I mean, I don't know how you could sort out three now. There's that many of them. Like, you have McGee, McCluskey, McLaughlin, Martin O'Malley, Martin Feeney. You can just go on and on and on. The Longs.
Yeah.
Tremendous. But the others are younger now. But another upstart after starting there now as well, Porter fella. He's trying to make a name for himself in the dogs as well.
Must be down the country somewhere, so he must, because it's not up this way.
Yeah, he must be. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, Ireland. That's the problem. Like with Ireland now, it's just full. It's just full of good handlers and good dogs.
Right. No, 'cause-
So I mean, as I say, like where do you start? You
no.
have all the ones that have won the international before as well.
Yeah.
Frank and Toddy, and then of course you have Dennis Burchell that's been there forever.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. No, it's funny. I've said it once, and it's just my opinion. People might agree, they might not agree. Uh, I reckon the hardest team to get on is the Irish team, but I reckon maybe Wales or Scotland might have more supreme handlers as such, if you know what I mean. But I think the actual team to get on, I think the Irish team is really, really hard to get on. Like I think if you did it again on any day, there's maybe you could have maybe 40 different dogs that could make that team at any time. Like the standards that high. Like
You think you think you look at the sheet or whatever, like,
yeah,
and you say, you surely I can make the five, like you mightn't make the 15, not
yeah,
mind the five.
yeah, yeah.
you
I know.
know just it's just the standard out there. Like it's even like when you go to any open trial now, like everybody and anybody that goes to the post is able to win.
Yeah, yeah,
When I started going, it wasn't like that. You had John Brennan or Dennis Burchill or Tim Flood or Jim Lamb or somebody like that. If they didn't win, you had a chance.
aye, aye,
But nowadays, everybody's able to win,
aye,
and I mean everybody.
aye. Because even run up here, like in the north, like you have McCluskey's been in the Supreme, McLaughlin's in the Supreme, McGee's been in the Supreme, Sammy's in the Supreme, Peter Morgan's in the Supreme, Dean's in the Supreme. There's more, but like there's six already who have two dogs each. So there's 12 dogs, and you're going for sixth place.
Yep,
And there's
yep,
there's more boys
I
in the
know,
Supreme as well. But they say there's 12 dogs, and out of them 12
I
dogs, one
know.
or two of them might have a bad day, but generally the other 10 of them 12 dogs put up fair runs all the time. Like it's very, very hard to get in.
Yep,
So
it's
they,
very, very hard, very, very hard, very, very hard to get in, and we're only touching on the periphery of it, like. But then dogs were there back in the day. Back in the day, I remember too. Like you had Tim Flood with Pip, and the Lambs there beside other, and Dennis Burchell with Jan, and that was a combination that was nearly impossible to beat.
aye, because I remember seeing that. Was he
Dennis
did
Burchell,
he
Dennis Burchell.
aye did he win the national, or was there something? Did he win
Oh,
the national three
the
times or
Burchell.
something, or there was something?
Oh, I mean, I'd be surprised if he didn't win it more with her, but he won it a lot with her anyway.
Aye, aye,
He won one man and his dog with her, and nearly everything else as well was nearly impossible to beat. Like, and then you went north, and you had Max Wigan and Hartford Logan and the Bradys, and Jesus Christ, you nearly, them handlers were daunting. Like,
yeah, yeah.
the Gallaghers as well.
Aye.
Back in them days.
They don't miss too many
Yeah.
tracks.
No, 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 no. They didn't. No,
So no,
they didn't, and still don't.
aye, no.
So,
And what
so
dogs then? What dogs have stood out to you now at this time then? This last, say 2000s on. Is there three dogs that you would say in your head that really stood out?
well, I mean, if you're going, if you're going up lately now, I don't know where you're going from, like, but you would have to have Burchell's Jan in there, like she was outstanding.
Yeah.
Becca, of course, in the later years.
Yes.
I mean, Becca was untouchable.
Yeah.
I mean, she was absolutely tremendous, like, and there, then you have McLaughlin's Dan as well,
Mm-hmm.
and James's Sweep, Christ, and Gerald Graham's Bow. Now there was a dog you'd stand in the snow and watch.
Yes. Yes. See, he was before my time. I remember hearing about him, but I'd
Yeah,
never seen him. What sort of dog was he? Or?
oh, he was a lovely dog. Oh, lovely, classy dog, real class.
And he got a lot of
Yeah, he
bitches
had
too,
it
didn't he,
all.
that dog?
He did, yeah. Well, there was a reason for him getting a lot of bitches.
Yeah.
You know, he was a tremendous dog. You know.
No,
Then you have
sorry, what did you say, sir?
go on, Mary.
He'd have just been,
No, I didn't say anything.
he'd have just been before my time with the Bulldog. I say I started going home to trials maybe 2005 or 6 or something like that. I think the Bull was he early 2000s or?
He'd be in the 2000s anyway.
But early 2000s, but they
He'd be in the 2000s anyway. But he was a very good dog now. Very good dog, and a classy dog, like
yeah,
very classy dog.
No, Jared had quite a
And
good
that's
two
just
dogs.
here now we're talking.
So he did. He had an ash dog there actually. Obviously, he took on by L. Jared passed away, but he had an ash dog that was a fair machine of a dog too. You know, maybe not the same as what that Bulldog was, but he was. I think he was quite dangerous with opens up here with him. Like he would have been a pushy sort of a dog.
Yes.
Like he wanted to get on his work. You know, but
well, John was a good handler, and he'd get him down to his way of thinking. Like,
aye. No, and the funny thing was, I say I've been around Jared's from like no age, and if you look at all his fields around home, I suppose it's probably the same for a lot of ones in Ireland, really. But like there were gardens, really. Like if you go across England, Scotland, and Wales, I remember lambing actually. I went out to England lambing for the first time, and they had their wee lambing field that they called. It was just called the wee lambing field, and it was it 16 or 17 acres. And that was the wee lambing field, 16 or 17 acres. Like in Ireland, there are quite a hell of a lot of farms that are 18, 20 acres. Like
that was a paddock to them. Like
but just the thing, the Irish dogs, trying to train in them smaller fields, and then you go to the international, say for example this year, like it's some difference. Like
yeah. Well, I mean, it could look like half of Scotland was in it, you know. But it was just a feel, you know. But that's just the way they were. Yeah, I was over there too, there in England there back a while ago there at trials, like and well, they said the field wasn't that big, like there was about 30 acres in it, but I thought it was fairly big.
But that's the thing. But most roads you drive in Scotland and England, you could nearly hold a national on one of the fields. Like on most roads, like they're bloody. There's loads of them big fields. Like it's
anywhere at all on a roundabout.
Aye.
You'd nearly run one on some of the roundabouts.
Aye. But tell me this then. So outside your own country, obviously Ireland, is there a country that down the years you've liked seeing, or is there a group of handlers from a certain country where you always like to see that country, or is there a country you favoured outside of Ireland?
Well, I always like watching the Welsh because the standard of their handling is tremendous, and I think it has come up. It has even come up a level again, like with Kevin Evans now.
Yeah,
he has them young handlers just there now, Dewey and them. They've had to come up as well.
Yeah.
And as Aladone had been up for years and years, like he'd be up on he'd work at a different standard with a different type of dog.
Yeah.
He'd be a different type of handler, like, but I mean, Kevin Evans and that key bitch, I mean, they were just something to watch, like, and they are tremendous. I always like watching Jim Cropper as well. Jim Cropper was a serious outfit with a dog, like.
I've mentioned it in one of the previous podcasts, like, but that single he done that time, I think that'll never be forgot about. Like it was in Guildhall. Remember the dog come in just through the wee gap, like there was no gap at all, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
Serious, like, but
yeah.
Funny, I was talking to Sammy Long today, and you're saying about the Welsh handlers or whatever, like, and we were just talking about. I was up at Sammy's house, like, and we were talking about how the Welsh and the Scottish and whatever they get through to the Supreme, and they just the international shit. It just seems to happen all the time. Like you don't really that often see them getting stuck on it. They always seem to just get through it. Like, it's just that handling seems to be, when it comes to the big day, they always seem to have that extra bit, whatever it is.
Yeah, well, it's not by accident. Like, they're good, and they put a lot of effort and a lot of time in it. And there's a lot of them young fellas there now, like, and they're very, very, very dedicated. And they only keep the dog that's able to do the job, and they're able to do the job themselves as well.
Yeah.
And you don't seem to have as many in England now. No, you have a good few coming now in England as well. There, James Dumbledon and Michael Longton,
Yeah.
and there's a few more, the younger crowd there as well. Like, and they're going to have to pick it up now.
Because that's the thing, like England, they do bloody, they've good handlers, like, you like even Ben Smith, for example, there in the Supreme this year. You have Reggie Megan,
Ben Smith
Michael,
is a tremendous handler.
the serious handlers, the luck just doesn't seem to have fallen their way, but that's not to say that there are any lesser handlers. Like, if you were to see Ricky or Megan or Michael, I suppose, or even Ben Smith, like this year in the Supreme, like, they'll have a say in a Supreme. Like, they're not just there to make up numbers, boys.
Ricky is at a different level, like, altogether, and when he had that sweep dog, like, I mean, he was dangerous at every turn, like, it didn't matter where he went, but I mean, that dog was just,
Special.
a different class. He was when he came to the close work, he was a different class, because he could just leave him there to do it. And he'd do it, like, and he'd just leave him there standing someplace, and he didn't worry about anything passing him. They wouldn't pass him. And he just stand there, and I've seen a little bit of that coming out in Scott's Glen dog in Guildhall at the World Trial.
Gutsy.
I've seen a little bit of that same ring work coming out in that dog. And but Sweep was absolutely tremendous dog in the close work. You couldn't beat him. He just stand on the edge of the pin, and he'd lean one way or another, like, and control the sheep into the pin.
Funny, I was up at Ricky's.
Very, very.
I was up at Ricky's 2011, and I think that was the year after he won the brace with Roy and Sweep. Sweep was very young at the time, but I remember him taking me up onto the hill and showing me the Sweep dog, and there was cattle. He was actually working with the cattle, and now when I think back on it, like, I don't think too many people with dogs as good as that would even take him near cattle now to even risk it. But I remember at that time, he had plenty. There was no fear in that dog. Like, he was more than capable of shifting stock. But like, now when you think back on it, if you had a dog that good, I don't know if you would take him near cattle now. That's too big a bloody risk.
There's always a risk in it, but of course people does, and an awful lot of Sweep's offsprings would work cattle away. Like, I had several that would work cattle well, no problem. And I think Paddy Fanning's dog will work cattle too. Paddy Fanning's a dog off Ricky's dog will work cattle.
I always have that fear, just of a kick that could be enough to ruin them. Like, that's my fears with them. But
absolutely, I had it happen to me with a very good dog I had on the team in at Nuts Corner way back in 93 or 4. You hadn't started that time.
No. I think
no, but
I was born in 92.
He was a good dog, a bit pushy, but he was a good dog. But I was moving cows and calves along a road. At that time, you could move them on the quite country roads here. You could move them from one land to the next, and cows went in where guys were building a new house, and he went in and turned them out. Like, but as he was coming out behind, a cow clipped him across the ear and broke his eardrum on the right side. And he was never much good for trial after. If he was going left-handed from you, he wasn't too bad. But if he was going right-handed, he'd just wave you goodbye
just
and go on with them himself. Yeah. most of the time. Yeah,
No bar.
yeah.
So, and these chats I've been doing there with people, generally it's just trying to find out, like, dogs they like, dogs they had, whatever, like nothing too serious, but put in the odd question, for maybe somebody listening in would be maybe trying to, like last week, for example, I was asking Alan about, how he worked with young dogs starting off, young pups, how you socialise them and handle them, whatever. But like yourself, if you're starting a young dog there, say you have it, it's ground sheep balancing, how would you go about getting an outrun on a young dog? What's your way of going about it?
Well, to get an outrun on it, I'd be first. I get obedience on it that I could leave it lying down
Mm-hmm.
someplace, like, and put the sheep out maybe 20 yards in front of me, and go out 10 yards myself and keep out to the side a bit. I was going to send them,
Yes.
and send them then, like, so as I could walk into the gap behind the sheep, stay between him and the sheep all the time, so
Aye,
as I
yeah,
could get him going out. You know. A lot of people do the other way. They send the dog on the opposite side to them,
yes.
but they find it hard to keep it out. Then
Aye, aye.
the dog, that space is open, but it depends on what works for you. You tend to work the system,
Yep, yep, yep.
and if that system works, you tend to stay with it a lot. And of course, everything is different when you're young, and it's like the old dog and the young dog.
Aye,
And everything is different when you're young. Like you can leave him sitting down and go a few yards, and you run the 200 meters down the middle of the field and be there before him. Like, but
aye.
he has to go around the outside. But that doesn't work anymore.
You reckon they're running faster now, are they? Oh,
Well, if I was to run that 200 meters now, there'd be some fella coming with a blue light for me.
oh, yeah. No, I know. It's each week I like
Yeah.
to ask maybe something that maybe if there's somebody maybe starting out or something like that, there's a wee thing that maybe can pick out. So, what you're saying is you send them out by yourself and you're between them and the sheep at the back. I suppose that's teaching them, to give a lot of people they can send the dog off and then hit tight at the back. So you're avoiding that obviously by you're at the back to meet them.
Yeah, you'll be there before him, and he gets to know you're there, and he don't come.
Aye,
And after a little while, he picks it up, like, But maybe dogs nowadays are a little bit easier there too. When I started, some of the dogs was hard to keep them from the back of the sheep.
yeah.
They wanted to come in there, like they had just on their mind to gather and come with the sheep, and they didn't see any reason why they should go back 35 meters. You know,
Aye.
uh, so so you had to teach him. You had to teach him to go back there. You know.
So do
Uh,
you reckon then maybe that you're saying like back in them days they obviously want to push on harder? Do you find maybe that there's more dogs coming out at a younger age now then compared to back in them days? You think they're maybe a bit easier to get to that say nursery level or whatever, or
well, the nurseries, yeah. Well, when I started, some fella be running a dog in a novice trial. You'd ask him what age he was, and he'd tell you he was only young. He was 3.
aye, yeah,
To
yeah,
be in the novice trial. Well, now you'll see dogs under a year old doing nearly a full open course at a nursery,
aye, aye,
and they mightn't be a year old yet.
yeah, yeah,
You know, so that's an awful change. I don't know, but I mean, an awful lot of that has come from the breeding of the dogs, because you couldn't put that much into them at that age.
aye,
You'd put them off altogether.
aye,
So an awful lot of that is natural ability,
aye,
and it leaves it a lot easier. Natural ability in anything, whether it's
yeah,
football or horse riding or dogs or whatever, you can't beat natural ability, like,
yeah, yeah. No, no, not
George
that's fair enough. But no,
George,
I think
George Best could.
George Best.
George Best could spend 3 or 4 nights in out on the town in Manchester, like, and Matt Busby is still playing on Saturday.
No, I remember there was a good quote. Was it George Best that I never? He was younger. There was one time that he gave up drinking and woman, and he said it was the worst 30 minutes of his life. Oh,
And that'll be him, yeah.
aye.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
no, I
yeah.
think
Well, he didn't, couldn't.
we've covered a lot here tonight. You're the first Irish one we've had on, so this is probably the pinnacle of your sheepdog life so far. So it is.
It's all downhill from here.
Aye. So it is, but no. I say for anybody listening, there's been a few times here with the video cut out, so we'll just join that up into different. We'll join them up, but in case you're wondering why there's a wee bit of a delay or whatever, we'll join them up. But I thank you very much, Colin, for talking to me. I really appreciate it, and I think that'll be quite a nice one, especially for the Irish handlers. Maybe getting somebody on from Ireland now after the first few. Like it'd be nice to hear somebody from home. So also, thank you.
The might and the mightn't.
Aye.
No bother, Adam.
So that's